Hello and welcome to another episode of Moose's Gear Goo Review. I'm Moose, and today I got a special knife here. It just came out. There's a couple videos out already, but this is the Benchmade 535 Bugout. The Benchmade 535 Bugout. Holy awesome. So just like always, we're going to go through some stats and we'll talk about all the cool features and the reasons why I'm so excited for this knife. So let's get into it. The overall length is 7.46 inches long. The blade length is 3¼ inches long, more or less. The cutting edge is 3 inches. The blade width is 1 inch. And the blade thickness is 0.09 inches thick. The handle width is 1 inch as well, and the handle thickness is 0.42 inches thick. And the most amazing thing about this knife is that the overall weight on this guy is sub 2 ounces. So that right off the bat, you'll feel that right in hand. As soon as you pick it up, you'll be like, wow, this is extremely light. And most of the weight cutting came in the form of the handle. So when you do hold it, you definitely feel a top heavy or a blade heavy knife, which, you know, it's sub 2 ounces, so it's still really easy to wield. Pretty amazing how Benchmade was able to do that. So starting from the tip to the butt, the blade, beautiful, very symmetrical, awesome, well, not symmetrical, but very awesome, clean looking design. Just a basic Benchmade drop point. Like always, they have that kind of functional swedge that brings it to the point, just gives you a little bit more delicate point for doing some finer tasks with. It is it's a flat ground blade, and it's a plain edge. I haven't seen yet whether or not they offer it in a combo edge with serrations or not, but that's right. I like plain edges anyways. It has a satin finish, very beautiful. Almost has two different grinds there. You kind of see the grinding on top there a little better, but it is satin finish all the way. We have the Benchmade logo with the 535 number there under the butterfly. Then on the back side, we have the S30V, if this was able to pick it up, as well as this is a first production run. I have number 30 out of 1,000, so I got pretty lucky with getting a lower number. That being said, I'm not as much as a collector. I'm really not a collector at all. I'm more of a user. So with this blade, I haven't really used it at all. I just carried it just to see how it felt in pocket. But with that being said, I will probably find a collector who would be more into the 30 mark than I am, and then I'll probably end up getting a user. Because I don't want to use something that someone else is going to value as a collectible, so I'll probably do that. But that being said, flat ground, satin, plain edge. Yeah, it has these awesome, very nice anodized aluminum or blue thumb studs for being, ambidextrous. Moving into the handle, we have this very attractive blue polymer. It's a Grivery, which they use on some of their other knives. It does feel plasticky, but you know, when you actually kind of press into it, you do feel that it's very solid. It has Jix textured panels on the middle of the handle, and then it's almost like a matte finish on the rest. All the hardware, for the most part, except for the stop pin, is black. And then the axis lock pin, which is a pretty amazing feat, is actually titanium. So that cut a decent amount of weight in the handle as well, is by switching that axis lock to titanium, so that was cool. On other decorative touches, they have two back pillars that are blue that match the thumb studs. So the overall theme of the knife is very attractive with the kind of chromed out blue pillars and thumb studs. On the inside of the knife, I might not be able to see it, but because these are more or less hollow handles, they have a grid pattern structured into it that gives the knife rigidity, but it also allows the material to be very thin. So you still get the strength of the Gryvery, but then they have those grid pattern pockets that cut out a lot of material to keep the knife light, as well as the actual liners of the knife are, I call maybe a third liner or a quarter liner, where the liner only goes to where this screw is here. So that gives it enough rigidity to use the axis lock with the Omega springs and give it enough structure to give a strong point for the pivot and the lock pin. But then the rest can be lightened up and still give you a rigid handle, but not as strong as that steel. So that's another really amazing thing they did to cut weight. So ultralight knife. Because it has the short liners, it does protrude at the top, giving you some jimping. It's fairly mild jimping, but it's sufficient enough to lock you in, so not bad. And then going over to the pocket clip, a lot of people are super excited about this. It's a fold-over deep carry pocket clip, but it's shorter than the typical Benchmade pocket clip. So here's one on the G10 mini grip, and you can just see how much larger this one is. By making it shorter, they make it just and giving it that kind of split arrow cutout just helped lighten the pocket clip and just made it a little bit more easier to get in and out of pocket. So pretty sweet. Definitely love the pocket clip, and it works and functions really well. You can see when I slide it in the pocket, it sinks down. You barely get any blue or butt end sticking out, and it's a fairly strong pocket clip, so it holds in there really well. The pocket clip is ambidextrous, left or right carry, tip up only, fairly standard. Now, one thing I haven't seen anyone really touch on is this oversized lanyard hole. Now, to me, this is huge, especially because this is designed more or less for backpackers and hikers. A lot of backpackers want to stay as light as possible, and ounces count in the backpacking world because you got food and water and shelter all in your backpack, and the lighter the load, the easier it'll be on you if you're trying to cover some huge distance. That being said, oftentimes lanyard holes are just big enough to get paracord through. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, it's just an oversized lanyard hole, but they don't realize that this lanyard hole has the function and the design to actually fit with carabiners. Now, obviously, there are some chunkier carabiners than others. This is the Night Eyes S Beaner, Night Eyes S Beaner number 3, so it's good for 25 pounds. But as you can see, it locks in there plenty to move around and hold into. And so a lot of times, backpackers as well, we just like to clip our gear to the outside of our bag or clip it to a belt or something or a pack strap. Leaving it on the outside of the bag allows us easier access if we don't want to carry it in pocket or whatnot. So brilliant idea for that. So thank you, Benchmade. Well done with that, and it works great with the carabiners. You can just clip it onto a belt loop or a backpack. So there you have it, guys. I think that's all the features of this knife. Like I said, it's extremely lightweight. Let's just compare it in size to a couple of other knives. We have the Spyderco Sage 5. We have the Benchmade Mini Griptilian. We have Spyderco Cat. And we have another lightweight classic, the Kershaw Skyline. And we'll do the Boker FR. Now, as you can see, blade length wise, it's about 3 1/4 inches overall blade length. So it's actually the most similar to the Skyline. All these other ones are sub 3 inches, which isn't a bad thing, but it is what it is. Because it is one of the longer blade lengths, it does have a longer handle, but it does look slightly shorter than the Skyline. And surprisingly enough, I don't have it here, but I think this knife is just shorter than a regular size grip. So pretty amazing that they got that blade length, but still sub 2 ounces. So let's compare thickness. It is a lighter weight knife, so it's going to be probably a thinner stock. So it looks like the mini grip is slightly thicker The Sage 5 is slightly thicker. And all these knives here are great, kind of lightweight EDC knives. I should be saying weight as well far. The other two knives that I just did were actually heavier than this, just noticeably in hand. The Cat is thicker and heavier. Skyline is thinner blade stock. Handle length, thickness is about the same, and weight, I don't know offhand, but I still feel like the Skyline is slightly heavier. And then the Boker FR, I think the Benchmade is slightly thicker. Blade stock, handle-wise, thinner. And weight, I think the Boker FR is just a hair heavier. So there's that. I do want to say, too, that this spine does feel sharp enough to throw sparks. Once again, adding to the purpose or usefulness in a camping, backpacking situation if you like to use fire starters and sparkers. So the last test, of course, is the ugly brown glove test. Right off the bat, the matte kind of finish or texture to the smooth part of the Gravity actually does add some traction. Then the textured part within the handle actually adds a good amount of traction as well. Easy to flick open, find those thumb studs. The jimping is okay. It doesn't really lock me in terribly a lot, but you know, it's doable. Once again, the texturing on top of the plastic here actually helps. And then there is a slight guard there that kind of locks my hands in. I will say this is a very ergonomic feeling knife. Just in general, for how thin it is, it does lock you in pretty well, and feels very comfortable. Checking the axis lock. Flick open, swing close. So definitely doable. Obviously my glove got caught in there, but definitely works actually pretty well. So honestly, all I have to say is yes, this passes. I'd say it passes with about a 75 to 80% on the ugly brown glove test. Just because it is fairly thin, it'd be easier to have a little bit thicker handles for a grip. But that being said, it wants to be thin, lightweight. All I can say is home run from a backpacker's perspective. I forgot to say S30V blade steel is around 115 bucks. Some people think that's kind of steep for such a light knife. Honestly, for the features and if you're a backpacker, you got to get this knife. You won't be disappointed. Even if you're looking for a lightweight EDC, like super awesome. So there you guys have it. Totally recommend this knife. Check it out, the Benchmade Bugout. You can click the eye in the upper right hand corner for other videos. Check out these other two videos here. Click that big logo button there to subscribe, or the red button down below. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you outside.